It is Sunday, the 1st of December, 2024. My name is Pigeon Rose, and this is my song of the day. Today, at the end of the week here, we're talking about another Radiohead song. I'm going to remind you again, Radiohead are Zionists. I don't support their political views. Well, at least 2 members are confirmed Zionists, but I mean, if you're working, it's a whole thing. Anyway, go listen to my episode about No Surprises if you want to hear me rant about that for a while. But anyway, I am a big fan of Dropout, which is a streaming service run by the company that used to be College Humor. The most popular thing they make is probably Dimension 20. In fact, that is how I discovered them, actually, technically, now that I think about it. But this year they've been doing a bunch of stand-up specials, and one of them that came out a few months ago now was Courtney Peruso as, I can't remember the character's name, but she played a sex robot, and the whole joke was that it was like a stand-up special, and she was playing like a malfunctioning sex robot who was engaging in like role play with the audience and stuff, and it was very raunchy and weird, but there was like an emotional moment at the end where she just starts singing Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead, and it was really affecting. It got this song rooted in my head again. I remember when I first listened to Radiohead and I wasn't really like emotionally available for a lot of their stuff. This song did not hit me at all. And people always talked about how great of a song it was. And I was like, is it really? And then like a few years ago, I listened to it again. It's like, oh, I get it. This is a great song. Oh, shit. So we're going to listen to it now and then come back in a few minutes and talk about it. So there's Fake Plastic Trees by Radiohead. There's a whole set of stories about this song and the making of it, and I've seen conflicting accounts on different websites, but I tend to go with what Wikipedia says because as much as it has a reputation for having false information, it's generally pretty good about stuff when it's properly sourced. Anyway, apparently Tom York just kind of came up with the melody of this song and didn't really know what to do with it, but he couldn't get it out of his head, and then he was lonely and drunk, and he started writing down the lyrics for this song, and initially he thought they were funny. He laughed at them and was just like, oh, this is kind of a silly thing that I wrote when I was drunk. And then he went into the studio to record them, and he just like recorded himself singing and playing guitar, and according to Colin Greenwood, who's the bassist, he recorded 3 takes and then burst into tears, and then the rest of the song is just the band overdubbing themselves over Tom York's performance. And I think that's really interesting how he wrote the lyrics kind of not caring about them, but then when he actually performed them, they just hit him like that, you know? And it's kind of similar to my own relationship with the song, actually, funnily enough. The other thing about the making of this song that is interesting to me is that Tom York didn't like falsetto singing. He thought it sounded bad. And then they went to go see Jeff Buckley perform, and this gave Tom York the confidence to sing in falsetto because Jeff Buckley has a great and beautiful falsetto. And Tom York was like, well, if he can do it, there's a way to do falsetto that doesn't sound like shit. And so falsetto has become like a really integral part of Tom York's style. So it's interesting that the inspiration for it came from Jeff Buckley. It makes a lot of sense to me. Jeff Buckley was great. These things kind of combined to make this song. And so the song itself is about things being fake and plastic, and it feels very much like a commentary on consumerism, you know? So let's go ahead and start talking about the lyrics. A green plastic watering can for a fake Chinese rubber plant in a fake plastic earth that she bought from a rubber man in a town full of rubber plans to get rid of itself. It wears her out, it wears her out, it wears her out, it wears her out. So, green plastic watering can, it's the platonic ideal of a watering can. That's what I picture when I think of a watering can, as a green plastic watering can for a fake Chinese rubber plant. So he immediately kind of, it's not a contradiction, but, you know, a rubber plant wouldn't need to be watered because it's fake. It's an artificial plant. But this person apparently has this watering can for the fake plant. And whether that means that she's naive and doesn't understand how this works, or if she's doing it for show and she's not actually watering it, she just has the watering can so it looks like it's a real plant, if that makes sense. It's unclear, but it's all this commentary on fakeness and realness, right? And then in a fake plastic earth, pretty self-explanatory, that she bought from a rubber man in a town full of rubber plans to get rid of itself. So the rubber man would make sense to be about like the person who sold it to her, but in this instance, him being a rubber man like the fake Chinese rubber plant implies that he himself is not that he's not real in a literal sense, sense, like he exists, but he's like, this is just kind of what he does. He's a rubber man, he's fake, he doesn't really do anything worthwhile, if that makes sense. That's what it brings to my mind. I don't know if that was the intention. In a town full of rubber plans to get rid of itself. So it's important to note here, Radiohead, of course, are a British band, and rubber is a term that the British and Irish use to mean eraser. Because Americans, when they say rubber, they mean a condom, and Brits and Irish people, when we say rubber, we would generally mean an eraser. And so the idea of rubber plans to get rid of itself, it's a pun on that idea of having plans to erase themselves, but it being rubber plans, again, folds into this fake idea. And so I feel like the idea of a town getting rid of itself, it's like the real thing fading away and being overtaken by these fake things, these fake people, the fake rubber plants, the fake rubber men, right? And then the chorus is just, it wears her out, repeated 4 times. And that's what really gets you about this song, is that chorus, because the song itself, I mean, it starts quiet, but the chorus is just like the vocals and the organ, and it's so sad and low. It wears her out. Like, he sounds worn out when he's singing it, you know? And then it kind of kicks into a higher gear with the second verse. She lives with a broken man, a cracked polystyrene man who just crumbles and burns. He used to do surgery for girls in the 80s, but gravity always wins. And it wears him out. It wears him out. It wears him out. It wears... That just kind of trails off. So polystyrene, also known as styrofoam, is a material that is not very good at staying together. It just breaks apart into a million pieces. And so the idea of the person she lives with being a broken man, a cracked polystyrene man, it gives this impression of someone who is so close to falling apart, right? They're made of polystyrene and they're cracked. So they're on the verge of disappearing, who just crumbles and burns. Like, he's falling apart. His life is falling apart, right? He used to do surgery for girls in the 80s. So the implication being that he used to have like a more complete, fulfilling life. And then, but gravity always wins. And that is generally referring to people who get facelifts or, you know, cosmetic surgery to make themselves look younger or to make their boobs bigger or whatever. When people say gravity always wins, they're talking about how, like, your face will sag, your breasts will sag, right? Gravity always wins. No matter how much surgery you get, gravity always wins. And it's kind of putting a commentary on the idea of these cosmetic surgeries being fake. There's a whole other ethical debate you can have about that, but that's outside of my remit. He's saying that, like, this guy who feels broken now used to do cosmetic surgery for people, but gravity always wins. And it kind of speaks to the idea that his job wasn't as fulfilling as you'd think because his work didn't last, is what it says to me, right? And then it wears him out. It wears him out. So he's worn out by this. He's worn out by this life. He's so close to crumbling apart. And then the final verse, she looks like the real thing. She tastes like the real thing. My fake plastic love. But I can't help the feeling I could blow through the ceiling if I just turn and run. This turns it into being less of an omniscient commentary on people, and becomes personal because it's my fake plastic love. I can't help the feeling. So it's from the perspective of the narrator now, the Tom York character, right? And then she looks like the real thing, she tastes like the real thing. This is the kind of thing you see in advertising for food or drink, like Coke, for example, had a whole thing about being the real thing, right? So describing someone you love in ways that you describe food is gross. So, you know... There you go. Saying that she looks like the real thing, she tastes like the real thing, but she's his fake plastic love. She's fake and plastic just like everything else. Even if she's put in all this effort to look and taste like the real thing, right? I can't help the feeling I could blow through the ceiling if I just turn and run. I assume this is saying that, like, even in all this fake plasticness, he could actually get away from it if he tried. I feel like that's what that's saying there. And the final chorus, and it wears me out, it wears me out, it wears me out, it wears me out. And if I could be who you wanted, if I could be who you wanted all the time. So again, returning to this it wears me out idea, but the if I could be who you wanted all the time is really interesting as well. I think it's talking about like a more permanent change than this fake plastic change. He's like saying how as much as he despairs at this fake plasticness and as much as it wears him out, there's part of him that wishes he could take this fake plastic change if it's what the other person wanted. I don't know if that's what everyone else reads into this song, but that's what I read into this song, and that's what matters because it's my show. show. So, if you disagree, you can get bent. Thank you so much for listening. There are other covers of this song I really enjoy. There's a cover by Phoebe Bridgers and Arlo Parks. I know FINNEAS did a cover of it, although I haven't actually watched it, but I like FINNEAS, so it's probably good. Anyway, that's the end of this week. Next week will be my winter-themed week, being the first week of December. Hey, it's December today. Isn't that fucking weird? So, I'm doing these weeks where I talk about seasonal music. I did summer and autumn already, and so next week is going to be my winter-themed week. So, look forward to that, I guess. It's so fucking cold as I record this. I still have a bit of a cold. Aye. Anyway, we're almost at January. Thank you so much for listening. Please hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Tell other people about this show. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Break it down.